Good evening, fight fans. It's 2020 and we are kicking off the year on the Radulich Broadcasting Network with the first fight on DAZN of 2020. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight's main event that we're providing alternative commentary for is Jaime Munguia versus Gary O'Sullivan. And is at this time I'd like to remind you that with great mustache comes great responsibility. Jaime is 34-0 with 27 KOs. He vacated his previous title on November 23rd, 2019, so he could move up to middleweight. And this fight with Gary O'Sullivan, who is 30-3 with 21 KOs, is supposed to be a test at this weight, as he is being groomed to fight Canelo possibly later in the year after Canelo eventually maybe kind of sort of fights Billy Joe Saunders. And that's how we got to this fight here in DAZN at the Alamo Dome. Joining me to step in as a replacement, unfortunately John War could not be with us tonight. He had a family emergency. So pinch hitting, as it were, is your man with the MMA coverage, the host of Damn You Hollywood in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Winfree. How do you do, sir?
Well, I was doing all right, and then I watched the fight that aired previous to this one.
Ugh, I don't understand.
And subsequently lost the will to live.
So, from what I understand, Grandma was supposed to be a good fighter, and she went into that one, and it was just a brawl for all.
One of them lost their weave halfway through the fight, and it clearly threw off the game plan.
Yes, Grandma's weave got all cockeyed. How did that make the co-main event on this card? Like, who thought that was a good idea?
The good folks at DAZN. Who don't believe in actual words.
All right, so Spike O'Sullivan, would you call him a journeyman fighter?
To the extent that I know anything about him, sure. He's again a bit of a journeyman, a bit of a gatekeeper. Just a solid enough test for somebody, kind of making their way through the waters at about 155 pounds, give or take. And it's, he's not an easy guy to, overcome. You mentioned he's only lost 3 times. All 3 of them went on to become champions in their own rights, some of them quite highly respected. So he's not an easy out, but he's also the kind of guy you need to be able to beat if you're going to really amount to anything.
Now, Jaime, as of September 29th, he was ranked as the world's best active light middleweight by BoxRec, 5th by the Ring Magazine, and 7th by the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board. So this is a guy, Golden Boy. I mean, this whole show has been a showcase for Jaime. They want to get his name out there. They want to establish him at middleweight. As I said earlier, Golden Boy is looking to have him tapped as one of Canelo's opponents down the line. So with this one, he really...
Look, the only question about this guy and Canelo is whether or not it's going to happen far enough in the future that they're going to try to build up the next great Mexican star, in which case he will go over Canelo and everyone will complain.
I don't know. He doesn't have the rock star, movie star good looks that Canelo has. I don't know about this guy.
I'm not saying that's how it's going to pan out. I said that's the only question. If they don't think it's going to pan out, they'll rush it and Canelo will win another Canelo fight.
Mm-hmm.
If they think he's the next guy, they'll wait another couple of years. Then he'll fight Canelo, and Canelo will lose the Canelo fight, and then complain about it and try to get a rematch. And all the promoters will go, no, we can't book this a second time because, well, we already paid everybody off the first time, and that only works once.
Oh, you're so cynical. All
It's
right.
boxing. If you're not cynical, you're not paying attention.
We had some good early. We had some from earlier fights in here. We had the first two fights looked like neither one of them looked like grandma. They both looked like professional fights. There was a 9th round TKO, and then I think the second one went to decision. Both good fights. If you haven't seen them, you haven't checked out the DAZN card, go ahead. And then the prelims, a whole bunch of first round knockouts. And we are underway here in our first round. Both fighters, Mr. Spike with his fantastic handlebar mustache.
I have to ask.
Yes, sir.
Is the reason you chose this fight over the other fight that took place on the same day and is already done the mustache? To be fair, I already know the answer.
The reality is that I didn't choose this. My partner did, but then he had an emergency, and by that point I was committed.
You know, you should have just taken the excuse to not be committed anymore.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but you know me.
I mean, for crying out loud, it's midnight where you are.
I know. I don't know who won Grandma's fight because I slept through it.
Not Grandma.
Oh, really? Not the girl who came down from heavyweight actually won that fight?
Yeah. Look, I only saw like bits of the announcement and heard like half of an interview where Grandma was like, yeah, she's got heavyweight power, I've got heavyweight power, Golden Boy, please let me run it back. And everyone just kind of vomited a little into their mouth.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about Grandma later because I have questions.
Do we have to?
I have questions.
I have no answers.
All right. Jaime is getting started early here on Mr. O'Sullivan from Ireland.
Jaime's a little bit more of the boxer of the two. O'Sullivan in this instance brings, again, respectable power. He's not a bad boxer by any stretch of the imagination. But this is more of a road... when I say a test, it's not an easy test. O'Sullivan is a very, very respectable fighter. You can see him in this first round backing Jaime up a little bit more than fans of Munguía should be comfortable with. O'Sullivan brings a little bit more power of the two, at least documented thus far.
What I like that Sullivan is doing is he's actually using his jab. Sorry, I still have like trauma from the previous fight with Grandma where she was throwing Deontay Wilder level shotés.
Hold on. Look, this is the only thing I will defend Deontay Wilder on possibly ever. Her punches do not look anything like Deontay Wilder's. Deontay Wilder at least knows which part of the fist to land with.
Fair enough. In either case, both of these two seem to be able to know how to throw boxing punches. Oh, and Jaime is going after it now. He threw a series of rights and lefts there as combinations and backed up O'Sullivan into the ropes. And then as the round ends, he backed him into the other side. So, pretty clear round.
He's been doing some good body work all around. He was backing up but letting O'Sullivan come forward and then tagging him. He's kind of making him pay for his forward motion. O'Sullivan not really able to capitalize on any of the superior ring position he's been able to attain on occasion.
Well, that's been the story of this whole card tonight for the most part. Has been body work leading to knockouts. So maybe we'll see more of the same here in our main event, O'Sullivan versus Munguía.
Yeah, it was a really good closing sequence to the first round for Munguía, and I'm not disputing that he won the previous portions of the round either. He largely did the better work throughout the entire frame.
What do you think O'Sullivan has to do to score an upset here to really? I mean, look, he's not supposed to be a jobber in this, but he isn't supposed to win either. But upsets happen in boxing. I mean, look what Grandma was supposed to win the previous match. So, what does O'Sullivan have to do strategy-wise here to upset Golden Boy's apple cart?
I think part of it he's been doing, backing his opponent into not just into the ropes but into the corner, which he's done on a few occasions. And to Munguia's credit, he punches his way out of it. But get him back into that spot. He's got to up his punch count because Munguía just outworked him. Even if you were to kind of disregard the really clean punches Munguía landed, he just worked better. He's got to up his work rate. He's got to limit the mobility. And I think he's got to get close. Part of the problem that he ran into, especially during that closing sequence, was he just waited for Munguia's punches and combination to end before trying to return. And while it is dangerous to punch with Munguia, I don't think he'll get anywhere if he tries to do like pitch and catch or wait and wait for the rhythm to maybe favor him. He's got to be willing to engage.
That was a good left from, by O'Sullivan. One of the things that I've seen him doing in the first and second round here is using his defense. I'll tell you, having watched the entire card full of fights so far, there's been some serious lack of defense being utilized in some of these fights. People are going toe-to-toe, balls to the walls, and not covering up, and they're getting knocked out. This fella has been covering up nice, letting Munguia come to him and trying to counter.
Well, Munguia already this round is he seems to be getting away from it now, but he stopped going to the body and started trying to throw uppercuts to the head. And he really hasn't done enough work to properly set that up yet. And to his credit, he seems to be getting away from it and is back to working the body when he's supposed to be.
O'Sullivan scored 2 to the face.
Yeah, O'Sullivan's doing well this round. I don't know if it's just Munguia deciding to. I hate to say take off a round off because he is very clearly fighting, but in the course of pacing yourself throughout an entire fight, and this one a potential 12-rounder, knowing which rounds to put forth a little more effort and which rounds to be a bit more conservative can be an important thing.
Oh, big right hand from O'Sullivan backs up Munguia. Munguia better be careful here. I mean, this guy can hit.
Yeah, Sullivan, not necessarily the most prolific one-hitter quitter, but he's got thudding power and a really good killer instinct if he gets you hurt.
He's got enough punching power to make Munguia, depending on his psychology, he might be able to break this guy who I'm sure went into this thinking, okay, good showing here, not a walk in the park, he's not going to lay down, but I should be able to coast through this pretty easily and show the powers that be what I can do. And so far, O'Sullivan has been taking it to him. And so you have to wonder if Munguia isn't going to start second-guessing himself or be overcome with anxiety as the fight goes forward.
Given Munguia's track record at his previous weight classes, I don't expect him to freak out when he encounters adversity. But there is adversity relative to your preparation as well, and if O'Sullivan finds something that Munguia is not prepared for, that might crack his head a little bit. But I think the real test will be for Munguia if he actively falls behind. At the moment, we're probably around apiece.
Yes.
Again, unless they're trying to make Munguia the next Canelo, in which case the scorecards have already been turned in.
We're going to go on the assumption that everything's on the up and up here, that he hasn't already won.
Look, I'm going to make the comment once because it's a relevant comment,
Mm-hmm.
but a round apiece seems fair at the moment. So if Munguia really falls behind, I think that might be a moment that kind of tests his what's he going to do if what he's trying isn't working kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just I don't think being in a close fight will necessarily shake him. I think losing a fight, being definitively down might. But O'Sullivan got a little bit closer, got Munguia in bad ring position, and capitalized in that second round.
O'Sullivan just stuck one in his face.
Yeah, O'Sullivan's not here to be anybody's stepping stone. He winds up being that in some respects, but only to very, very good opponents who have been able to kind of do that to him. Everybody else, he's been able to turn him back, and this is a big opportunity for O'Sullivan. If he becomes the first guy to beat Munguia, stops this guy that they're trying to build up, you could argue this is one of the bigger wins of his career and might put him in contention to fight fellow Irishman Canelo
So yeah, O'Sullivan's now going to the body, and he's finding some success with it. He knocked Munguia into the ropes previously. He's now walking him around the ring. Another left to the face from O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Munguia doing a lot of backing up, but his ring craft seems a little bit off. He's not necessarily being appropriately aware of where he is in the ring, and is not as urgent in getting off the ropes or out of the corner as you would like someone in that position to be.
His footwork seems a bit plodding.
Neither of these guys is especially fleet of foot thus far, and I don't expect either of them to really kind of bust anything crazy like that out.
No, but I would tell you, and I'm not trying to be prejudiced towards O'Sullivan versus Munguia, I'm just calling it as I see it. I'm seeing a little, relative to Munguia, O'Sullivan's footwork seems a bit more dynamic, a bit more light on his feet, whereas Munguia seems very plodding. Even as he circles, he just sort of steps and steps and steps. And O'Sullivan isn't necessarily following him. Oh, here we go. Munguia is starting to turn it on now. They are in the phone booth, and they are throwing leather. And Munguia got caught there in that last exchange. He looked like he was going after Sullivan, and Sullivan was eating punches. And then right at the end, as the bell rang, O'Sullivan nailed him once. And look at the eyes, Robert Winfree. Look at him in his corner.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
He is.
I mean, again, this is not anything that is, unrecoverable, but in that moment, Munguia seemed to be expecting O'Sullivan to just kind of shell up and wait for a moment to counter. O'Sullivan took a risk, punched with him a little bit, and look at the results. O'Sullivan comes out on top of that particular exchange, probably re-solidified the round for himself, in all honesty, with that final punch. Because Munguia tried to steal that in the closing seconds, because the rest of that round, I won't say like hugely went to O'Sullivan in some kind of like insurmountable way, but I thought the rest of that round was O'Sullivan's.
O'Sullivan comes forward immediately here in round 4, and he's taking it to Munguia. As we said earlier, he's not waiting. He's got good. He knows when he's got his man hurt, and he's not. He's gonna make you survive. He's not gonna give you a way out. As far as okay, I'll give you 30 seconds to finish recovering while I reestablish my jab. So
if I catch a little bit of my own wind.
So if O'Sullivan wins this fight, does Oscar De La Hoya's people just throw him in the trunk of the car and we never see him again?
Probably not. I mean, look, I don't put that past Oscar De La Hoya or his people, but I don't think look. The first guy that knocks out Canelo is the one we're never going to see again.
And you can continue to hear this sort of analysis right here on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network. We bring you all the great fights from DAZN and ESPN and wherever you watch your boxing. All right, back to the fight here.
Yeah, look, for the record, I apologize to anyone in advance if my sense of humor doesn't necessarily come across. And to anyone who's more, John War should be back for the next one of these, so you only have to suffer with me this one time. Good body work from both men this round thus far. And again, O'Sullivan looking to get a little bit closer, make this a bit of an uglier fight, because that's not really what Munguia wants. Munguia wants a little bit further at range, where he can be the slightly superior technical boxer and just kind of chip away with advantages until he finds a bigger one.
Well, one of the things I'm noticing from O'Sullivan is after that first round, where he took, I think, some of Munguia's best punches of the fight, I think he got it into his head that this guy doesn't have more power than O'Sullivan can handle, and is fighting much braver and much more, one might even say brazenly, than he had started off or maybe planned to be, because he doesn't think this kid can knock him out.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that. He is cognizant of the power coming back at him, but he is not fearful of it.
Yeah.
And that's an important place to be in your own head. Like, you're going to get hit. So figure out if it's more than you can handle and adjust your strategy accordingly. Munguia, again, getting back just into the ropes willy-nilly as O'Sullivan looks to force more infighting exchanges.
Big right hand from O'Sullivan. In Munguia's defense, he's no Shakur Stevenson, but he has been pretty evasive. He's had to make O'Sullivan throw multiple combinations, and they're definitely not all landing.
No, but you're starting to see O'Sullivan's defense as well come up a little bit. He's slipping well. He's making Munguia miss in addition to, missing himself. And that's an important aspect of this. Exchange of rights there at the end of the round. Both men landed. A better recovery round for Munguia. I still don't think he won that round necessarily, but he recovered in the ways you need to recover after that. Again, after the punch that wobbled him like it did. You
realize where this is going, right? If this goes all 12 rounds, he's winning by split decision.
And you said I'm the cynical one.
I'm making a prediction. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's in the bag.
Okay, fair enough. Duly noted.
These have not been the easiest rounds to score.
No, not on. Again, a couple of the clearest rounds have been for O'Sullivan, but in fairness to combat sports judging, which is a terribly difficult thing to do, you are correct. These have not all been very clear-cut rounds. That said, I have O'Sullivan up all but the first round.
And we are into round 5 here.
So we're probably either 4-1 or 3-2 O'Sullivan, realistically.
I'll be curious to see whoever person is keeping score for the commentary team, what his scorecards look like.
Munguia warned. That's the second time this fight he's been warned for hitting below the belt.
Did you happen to catch the fight wherever this was, where the one guy hit to the back of the head, and the guy who got hit in the back of the head turned around and gave him a spinning back elbow to the jaw?
I missed that.
Oh, check your Twitter feed. It's fantastic. I showed it to my wife. It was the best knockout of the weekend.
I will have a look at that.
I mean, it's no takedown that happened in Grandma's fight, but still, it was quite good for a boxing match.
That wasn't a takedown either, for the record.
It was an open field tackle is what it was. All right. Actually, we should have called Grandma's fight. We'd have had a gas of a time. I
would have removed my eyes and then gone into the woods to live deliberately. It would have gone great now that I'm blind. But
yeah,
you see Munguia in this fight. This round is O'Sullivan with a good right. He was on the losing end of most of those exchanges and then landed that right.
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to see some snapback in Munguia's punches. Looks like he's found some confidence again.
He seems to have recomposed himself. And credit to him, because he dealt with some adversity there. His jab is becoming more of a thing now. And O'Sullivan is squaring up a little bit more as he's trying to close distance. And
O'Sullivan lands a good combination there. Munguia goes downstairs and upstairs in retaliation. Good hook from Munguia.
Yeah, Munguia definitely back into this.
Both fighters making each other miss.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of solid defense from both men. O'Sullivan good about blocking punches as well, taking them on the gloves.
O'Sullivan just took a handful of punches there from Munguia. I started to think, this is not looking Munguia's O'Sullivan's way, and O'Sullivan just gave away that round.
I hate to say he gave it away. That was more Munguia taking it. He actively did that, worked very hard that round.
Sure.
So, sorry, my apologies on my previous math being erroneous. We would now be 3-2 for O'Sullivan as we close the fifth.
Right, and look, I'm not I didn't mean to suggest that he made some sort of egregious error and, rescued, put himself in a position where he gave it away, where he could have won it. What I'm saying is it looked like things were starting to go his way, and Munguia really turned it on towards the last minute and a half or so of that round, and O'Sullivan didn't do enough to take it back.
That's fair.
I mean, O'Sullivan ate a lot of punches in that last minute or so.
He really did. And this might also be some pacing on his part. I mentioned with Munguia maybe, knowing which rounds to kind of throttle back versus throttle up on. And we might be getting a bit of that with O'Sullivan here, where he's okay, I've won a few rounds. If I'm going to give one away, I'm going to be smart about it, kind of thing.
So O'Sullivan is really trying to end this fight on a right hook. And so far, he's roughly 50-50, if that, on landing those when he swings for the fences. But I'll tell you what, it's a vicious-looking punch, and if it hits, Munguia is going to be in trouble.
He's caught him with it a couple of times, usually when Munguia is not being defensively responsible exiting the pocket, or if he overcommits to using his left. You can see Munguia frequently when he exits the combinations at this point. His left hand is low. He's more trying to shoulder roll, but he forgets to actually roll his shoulder up. And yeah, O'Sullivan might have a bit of a read on that, and that's what he's trying to capitalize on.
Well, O'Sullivan's got Munguia. He had him backed into the corner. Then he motioned to the back of his head, and I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to tell us. Good left-handed.
I'm gonna guess it wasn't an anatomy lesson about which parts of the brain are located back there. Just kind of a heads up.
All right, so it looks like we have a foul here. It looks like he got punched below the belt. Yeah, he's looking like we need Joe Rogan here to talk about cups now.
Oh God, no. In fairness to Joe, that discussion has largely gone away at this point.
Here is the replay, and yep, got him below the belt line.
Very unfortunate. This might be a point deduction.
Yep.
I mean, the referee had in the previous rounds warned Munguia twice about hitting below the belt. At this point, you have to. Just procedurally, you have to.
Well, it looks like he had him. He did that thing that referees do where if it looks like they've cut you by the ear. But I didn't see him put up a hand gesture signifying a point deduction, so I'm not entirely sure. And I've got the sound off, so... But
he might have been going to, and then the guy in his earpiece said, "How dare you, sir? The scorecards have been turned in."
He noticed a red dot on his heart, and thought better of it.
In all seriousness, he's getting a point deduction here. You can hear him, you can see it if you're kind of reading the lips, but he's not. And some of this is just how boxing is done. They don't necessarily show things the same way that other sports do. So I'm pretty sure that was a point deduction for hitting below the belt.
Even in other boxing matches I've seen, they usually will gesture to each of the judges.
Well, he did. He brought him into the center of the. He brought him into the center of the.
That much I saw. I just didn't see the gesture.
I'm looking at. I'm confirming on Twitter one way or the other, and it seems like the point deduction. It seems like they are taking the point.
Okay.
And the low blow again. It was below the belt, but it was also a little bit more on the thigh.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, again, you've been warned twice previously for hitting below the belt. Sorry, buddy.
The rule is not don't punch in the dick. The rule is don't punch below this line.
Plenty of people will hit on the line, especially beating up to the thighs if you want to try and slow your opponent down. Beat them up in the hips, and It's a borderline legal thing and can be a dangerous thing to try and get away with, but it is a thing. That said, Sullivan closed decently in that round, but the point deduction. If that round went to O'Sullivan, and there's a strong case, there's a case that it did. I'm not sure how strong it is. That's a 10-8 round, and that's a potentially big thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that might have cost him the fight if he doesn't finish this. Munguia, we're talking about here.
Yeah, because that was the sixth. Was that the fifth? That was the sixth round.
That was round 6. We are now in round 7.
Okay, so if you are, say, 4-2 for O'Sullivan, which seems fair, and have a 10-8 in there, it's not numerically impossible to come back from that, but it is difficult.
Well, he'd have to sweep at this point at the very least.
Assuming he does not get any 10-8s of his own, yes. Which certainly not out of the question for Munguia to achieve either.
I was going to say, so if you're Munguia, you might want to hit the gas pedal and maybe try to get a knockdown, try to even things up in your favor.
Now, if, as we all know, that round was actually scored for Munguia, then we have a draw round. At which point O'Sullivan would probably still be ahead by 1 round, though.
Oh gosh, it looks like O'Sullivan went low that time.
Well, if you get hit in the groin, then you might want to get that one back. I don't think it's a smart idea, but you might do it.
Start reading lips, see if he yells out receipt, motherfucker.
He would not. I sincerely doubt he would
yell out receipt.
Advertise the intentionality of his foul.
Munguia has rocked O'Sullivan a couple of times in this round. Consecutive straight punches and hooks, nailing O'Sullivan and rocking his head back. And hey, we've got... Oh, now he's signaling. He's saying, I wasn't knocked down. I was punched yet again below the belt.
Well, let's see if that argument holds any water.
Well, he's not lying. I saw the punch.
I imagine that might come down to the referee then deciding if he wants to rule it a knockdown or purely the result of the foul. And if it is the result of the foul, you might get the weirdness of ruling the knockdown legitimate but also taking a point away for the foul to kind of equalize the playing field as far as that goes.
So we have a zero-sum round, essentially.
Well, no, because the winner of the round, unless they get a point deduction, has to get 10 points.
Okay.
So if you win a round but are deducted a point by the officials, you can only get 9.
Right.
If, however, you say if you get dropped but proceed to drop your opponent twice and win the round instead, you would get a 10-7. Because the mandatory point deductions don't necessarily go into effect if you win the round. And some of this does vary a little bit by commission to commission, but generally speaking, in the 10-point must system, the winner must get 10 points.
So as we continue the round here, O'Sullivan has recovered, and Munguia once again is fighting him aggressively. He's landed a good couple of punches, though O'Sullivan started to back him up into the ropes. Here we go. Munguia lands a punch, and O'Sullivan goes cascading backwards into the ropes. Munguia tried to finish him off, but O'Sullivan was saved by the bell, and O'Sullivan is having some difficulties, having been punched below the belt twice. Yeah,
you get hit in the crotch a couple of times, and especially by someone who knows how to punch.
Well, I'm wondering how much of it is also the sort of that hip joint. If that's where he's getting nailed. When he went down that second time, it looked like he got hit somewhere in the hip, in the the socket area where
you
the
can
upper
see
thigh
him,
meets the hip.
You can see him
To
not
look.
moving as well. Yeah, and look, some of that might be attributable to getting hit in the groin, which is unpleasant for everyone. But if you get hit really hard in the hip, it affects your movement.
Right. So they just showed it on the replay. I mean, he got him. Munguia did right at where the hip and thigh meet in front.
Which, I don't know if any of you out there have ever been hit really hard right in that kind of like the hollow of your hip. It is a miserable experience.
Okay, so that's what dropped him and is also illegal.
You can see it's his leg that gives out. That's what causes the drop, not the damage to the body.
Right. And so that's the problem here is that he got dropped with an illegal punch.
Yeah, I don't think the knockdown was ruled as a knockdown. I mean, the round goes to Munguia, but it's not in this instance. I don't think it would be a 10-8.
The other side of that, though, is he's getting beat up pretty good now. So
yeah, Munguia's really coming on strong. He seems to have weathered the best that O'Sullivan was going to throw at him. And unless O'Sullivan really catches his second wind, which with 4 rounds to go here as we are in the 8th, is not impossible.
Well, O'Sullivan doesn't look nearly as loose as he did in the beginning of the fight. He's tightening up a bit, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, like, he looks like he's in a lot of pain, and he's just trying to man up and get through it.
Yeah, that is definitely what his kind of body language and fighting decisions are leading you to believe at this moment.
Yeah, he's just trying to survive at this point, and you can almost see he's wincing when he steps. Yeah,
for the record, the danger of punching to the hip like that, it's very easy to break your hand. The hip bone is, especially on healthy people, is a very solid structure, especially they're kind of on the edges. But you can do a fair bit of damage to some important connective tissue if you land. If you hit as hard as these guys are, there's a good chance that you impact the bone, and that's why when you do it, you aim for the front of the hip socket rather than the side. Side is much more dangerous.
To Sullivan's credit, though, he's still in this. He's still going after Munguia. He's currently got him backed into the corner. But Munguia has demonstrated that even though he gets backed into the corner, he's able to evade punches pretty easily.
Well, O'Sullivan's hand speed has dropped significantly, as you mentioned. When he's been tightening up, your speed comes from your fluidity. There's the old kind of saying in boxing that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And O'Sullivan right now is not smooth.
No. He's chunky peanut butter.
He is tensing up when he's throwing, and not a lot of fluidity there. He's also not really kind of pressing the pocket issue the way he was in the past. He's getting in there but then backing out instead of trying to kind of force the fight there consistently. And at longer range, Munguia's jab and his straight right, the traditional 1-2, is starting to do a lot more work.
All right, how do you have it scored so far?
Ooh. Okay, after 8, last 2 going to Munguia.
That would make it 4-4.
We're probably 4-4, but I do have O'Sullivan getting that 1-10-8, so O'Sullivan is still up technically on the scores at the moment. Oscar De La Hoya there looking anxious because if there's another point deduction, the scorecards don't make sense.
Hey, we have to change that headline we all agreed on.
Yeah, Dewey did not defeat Truman.
That's a history joke, kids. All right.
I am a lover of history, so. That said, again, as the tide of battle is going, Munguia is definitely the one coming on stronger. And again, while he does still have to win the next couple of rounds, that seems very doable at this point if you're him. O'Sullivan is in bad need of finding his second wind, because if he stays at the wall he's at, Munguia has demonstrated this is where he's the better operator at this point. More body shots from Munguia starting to add up.
Yeah, O'Sullivan needs to come up with a different strategy once he's got him in the corner, because Munguia keeps willing to allow him to push him there, but then O'Sullivan doesn't have a tremendous amount of success. And there it is. Munguia nails him coming out of the corner with the left hook. And O'Sullivan is rocked. He's still in it, up straight right, knocks his head back. Munguia starting to score at will here.
Yeah, your head going back like that is a terrible sign when you're getting hit. It means your neck is loose, which is a really bad
right
spot
hook,
to be in.
straight again. I mean, at this point, they're going to stop this fight if this continues this way, because O'Sullivan is getting hit like a punching bag at this point.
Yeah, the ref's taking a good look at this.
So we might not make it to the scorecards here, which probably worked really well for Munguia at this point, because O'Sullivan is getting hit more than he's not, and he's taking a couple of nasty ones, and his head's rocked back and forth a few times.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where, if you're scoring this, you might have there's an argument for Munguia 10-8 here, just based on the damage he's inflicted.
Well,
because he has wobbled O'Sullivan several times.
I said it looked like O'Sullivan was starting to go down there, and I think he just kind of held on to Munguia to keep himself up.
He tried the old single leg takedown as a means of gaining separation. But yeah, he is very square with his upper body. His reflexes are slower. Munguia is just having target practice at this point.
Okay. And
if O'Sullivan has another round like that, his corner should stop it. There's no point to this.
No.
If
this
continues.
O'Sullivan also just went for a double leg takedown, by the way, as the round was ending.
Yeah, that's a terrible sign. If you're hurt and you're a boxer, you're trained to clinch to buy yourself some time, which is just smart. If you're reaching for a clinch that low, if your body's that unresponsive because of the trauma you've endured, that is a horrible sign for where you are in the fight.
You see on the replay here, if Munguia was able to put together a few more punches along with that straight left, he might have actually knocked O'Sullivan out. The problem
he just couldn't find the follow-ups in that instance.
No, he was scoring really well with that straight left, but he couldn't put any combinations together. I think he was surprised he was hitting him.
He might have been surprised that he was having as much impact as he was, more than anything.
Right. Like, some of those might have just been to try to open up Sullivan for maybe another hook. I was like, oh wait, these are scoring. Shit. Now what do I do?
Again, if there's another round like that, O'Sullivan's corner should stop this. Give him the round to see if he can change anything or show you something, but another round like that, and
big right hand from Sullivan looked like he caught Munguia behind the ear. Munguia backed up after that and said, "Oof, not again. No more of that, please. I'm driving."
Yeah, credit, mark of a smart fighter. Know when you need to be on your bike.
Bicycle.
Wow, really? A Queen reference?
Sure. One of the guys is Irish. Oh! O'Sullivan threw a pair of hooks there. It almost looked like Munguia was going down, but I think he ducked under the second hook. Big right hand from Munguia sends O'Sullivan stumbling back, but no follow-up, so O'Sullivan gets back in the phone booth again.
Yeah, O'Sullivan looks like he's kind of feeling like this is it. Like, I've got one good round in me. I'm gonna go for it.
That one right leg looks like it's all kinds of messed up, and he's kind of just hopping on it. It's almost like he's dragging a guitar case.
Yeah, the impact of those punches into the hip. This is what it does. There's a reason it's against the rules. And it's because, fighters already, most of them lose the ability to remember their children's names in like 10 years. They'd like to be able to walk.
Don't tell my father-in-law that. He already thinks this is barbaric.
Look, I enjoy it. I have an appetite for violence. I appreciate the mashing of violence with technical precision, with the testament to the human spirit that fighting can be. I am under no illusions about
what this does to the body and the brain.
Yeah. I've said this before, and it may sound overly cold. I've never watched a fight that has killed anyone yet, but I will.
Well, you didn't see Patrick Day then, I guess.
I saw the knockout. I didn't watch the whole fight.
We did. My wife swore off boxing after that because she feels like every time she roots for a guy, she gets him killed.
Look, my point is, I have accepted that if I watch enough combat sports, I'm going to watch somebody die.
Mm-hmm.
And my only thing about this is, as long as everybody knows what's up, okay.
Sure.
As long as everybody, like, if nobody's being forced, nobody's, there's no gunplay involved, there's no deprivation of will or choice. If you know that your life's on the line, and the audience, if both fighters know, if the audience knows, fair play to you. If you watch enough football, you watch people have died playing football.
The second fight on this card, the guy who won the fight actually. Now they're saying it wasn't a seizure, like he somehow fainted or whatever.
Dude, he was convulsing.
Yeah,
I've seen. I saw the clip of that on Twitter.
Okay.
And then he vomited as he was on the stretcher. Like, that dude suffered some brain damage.
I was going to say, I shared all of that on Twitter. When they ran the report prior to this fight, they were like, oh, he's fine. He had hospital care. It wasn't a seizure. There's nothing to see here. Let us never speak of the shortcut again.
And look, if this is not a sport that's for everyone. I get it. But I have no illusions about the physical toll this takes on people.
We are in round 11 here. Let's see what O'Sullivan can do to try to, because I think this fight was starting to slip away from him, despite punches in the leg and.
He had a good round in the 10th. I don't necessarily know that he won it, but he had a good round.
He did not win that round, no.
But certainly relative to the previous round, he recovered well and seemed to kind of be getting back into things.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can kind of ride that momentum and put that into practice.
Munguia has decided that he's going to sit in the corner and have O'Sullivan come to him because he seems to have gotten a read on O'Sullivan's punching speed and power.
He's got a feel for. There's something about the timing that O'Sullivan uses closing distance that Munguia has figured out. So he's willing to let him come forward, slip a few punches, and then land counters because he knows where O'Sullivan's going to be.
Well, it's an interesting strategy because he's not moving around the ring all that much. But I guess he figures if I sit still and let O'Sullivan think he's backed me up, then he's still enough for me to go to town on.
Yeah, that is the eternal trade-off of pocket fighting or infighting. You know where they are, they know where you are. And how much technique can you bring to bear?
O'Sullivan just getting beat up against the ropes there. Yeah, Munguia is going in for the kill.
Yeah, he wants this. He wants this to be over.
Yeah, and O'Sullivan is dangerously close to having it stopped. O'Sullivan clinches up to save himself.
Well, they had the doctors come in and give him a double. They had some commission official, I think it was the doctor, double check O'Sullivan between rounds 10 and 11.
Yeah, there goes the towel, which
Good
the
call.
ref did not see.
Oh, come on, ref. In all seriousness, if we're going to have corners have the ability to stop a fight mid-round, which I think they should, we need a better mechanism.
What you want him to do? Throw the towel at the ref?
How about put a giant light with a klaxon horn in each corner, and you have a button that only the corner can press.
How about
press the button?
How about
big light goes off?
How about tie the towel to a brick?
No, look, I'm happy with my solution. Like, just put a flag, put a big like police siren, and like a police flashing light, right? Mm-hmm. One in each corner, one that's red, one that's blue. If the corner wants to stop it, only the corner can hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Corner hits it. If it goes off in the middle of the round, fight's over.
I mean, look, we're talking a matter of seconds here. I don't think O'Sullivan took much more damage waiting for the ref to go, oh, hey, we're done here, than when the towel flew in. Because the sequence was, and I don't know if they'll show it back again, the sequence was Munguia was hammering the shit out of O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan was on the ropes, and I think the ref was running over to stop it as the towel was flying in.
Well, the towel was flying in as the ref goes over to look at them along the rope line. O'Sullivan drops from 4 or 5 more punches. Ref breaks it to start the procedure for a fighter being dropped. One of the other kind of like officials are around the ringside area alerts the referee that the towel's been thrown in. The referee then waves off the fight.
Okay, here's the sequence again. So Munguia is going after Sullivan, backs him into the ropes, rights and lefts. O'Sullivan is just taking a bunch of unanswered punches. There's the towel. The ref has his back to it because he's looking at the fighters.
And in all fairness, that's where the ref should be looking.
Right.
Like that's why I think we just need a better system in place.
Okay, I'm not really disputing that. But, okay, so that's looking a little Jack Dempsey, though. It's like O'Sullivan was clearly going down and not answering. Either stop the fight or back up Munguia and start counting. I'm not really sure what the ref was waiting for there.
Well, the ref does stop. Again, he does back him off. Some of this has to do with how O'Sullivan falls. Like, as soon as his knee hits the ground, you see the ref reach to break things up. But the fact that O'Sullivan falls the way he does means he's not actually downed for at least 2 punches that are legal.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not in there. We have the benefit of hindsight, and we have the benefit of camera angles, and in sort of 2020 vision here. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying I think the ref did a poor job or put O'Sullivan in danger, but he did his level best in the situation that was presented. I'm just from my vantage point, he probably could have stopped it a couple of punches sooner.
Well, again, he does
even without the benefit of the towel.
He could have, and it wouldn't have been a bad stoppage.
Considering at the time that I'm thinking he probably should have stopped it, O'Sullivan was hunched over, his hands were down, he's leaning on the ropes, and Jack Dempsey over here, old Jaime, is punching down on him.
Don't compare him to Jack Dempsey.
Well, my point is, have you seen Jack Dempsey as a guy is trying to get his legs under him, and he just punches down on top of him?
Well, different rules.
Yes, that's my point that I'm making.
Well, look, Dempsey would punch down on people, and they were starting to get back up because part of the rules allowed it.
Okay, so again, O'Sullivan hunched over,
but not on the mat.
Hanging on the... Had that been in the center of the ring, he'd have been on his face.
But we're not in the center of the ring, are we?
Feel like we're splitting hairs here. All right. Either way, good showing for old Jaime, who stops him prior to the 12th round. Good for him.
Solid stuff from Munguía all the way around. Some of the jokes aside, the man was landing at about a 50% clip, threw over 400 punches, which is a good. Sorry, that was power punches. His total punches thrown was right about 800, with a total landing about 3. You'd like the accuracy to be a little bit higher, but throwing 800 punches in about 11 rounds ish. That's not a bad punch count.
No,
it's not. He's no Leo Santa Cruz, of course, but he's not. That's a good. That's a respectable output.
Sure. So I think the game plan is, unless he's physically unable to make the May card, assuming all things fall into place the way that they've been talking about on the boxing blogs and Twitter and whatnot, is we'll have a Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders fight May 22nd on DAZN, and they'll probably have old Jaime here fight yet another middleweight on the undercard.
Yeah, that would make sense. If you're trying to build this guy towards a fight with Canelo, put him on the same card. Let that kind of reality start to germinate a little bit in people's minds.
Yep, absolutely. Maybe get this guy on some Spanish language radio stations. Get him into some.
And if you're O'Sullivan, you're going to start a GoFundMe for your hip replacement. That's now required. Because seriously.
O'Sullivan. So first of all, when he can walk again, I think
3 weeks.
I think O'Sullivan. Someone will call him from Matchroom Boxing, and he'll be fighting in the middle of the day here in the United States on ESPN Plus. That's my guess for him.
I mean, yeah, he's a good hand to have around. He's a good test. He's recognizable. He fights in a fan-friendly style. The man's not going to be hurting for opportunities.
No. And
again, after he gets an artificial hip put in.
And as I said, with great mustache comes great responsibility.
That is not an accurate sentiment.
That is a fabulous mustache, though.
It's all right.
I do enjoy a good vaudevillian handlebar mustache.
I mean, who doesn't?
Indeed. With that said, that is the end of our boxing coverage for this evening. Hopefully we'll be able to get John War back here. There's some boxing. None of the thing is cooperative on my computer tonight. God darn it. I believe Shishkin is fighting on Showtime on the 17th. So if I can get home in enough time from Bad Boys for Life.
Look, hang on. In all seriousness, you could just not do Bad Boys for Life and make sure you're there in time to do the boxing show.
You and your Jedi mind tricks will not work on me, boy.
That is not a Jedi mind trick.
Uh-huh.
All I'm doing is presenting other options to you.
Okay. That being said, assuming he's available, and again, he had personal issues tonight, so who knows? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
The Shadow knows.
The Shadow do know. Let's try this again.
Someone actually doing the other half of your bit has thrown off your timing?
No, what's thrown off my timing is how slow and uncooperative my computer is. I give up. So, yeah. So, hopefully, we'll be able to do the Showtime fight on Friday. We'll see. We were going to do myself and Robert Winfree, we're going to do UFC 246 McGregor versus Cowboy, but it's my mother-in-law's birthday, which apparently is a religious fucking holiday. So, instead...
Hey, are you, what's your wife's maiden name? Day?
Yes.
You're not a dayophobe, are you?
Hey, what?
If it's a religious if it's a religious holiday, you could associate it with the surname, so, you're a dayophobe.
I feel like you're reaching for a dumb joke.
Yes, I am.
The following Saturday is UFC Fight Night, Blades versus Schmagegi.
Isn't he fighting Dos Santos?
Maybe. I know it's a heavy...
That's like Blades and Junior Dos Santos. Yeah, it is. It's Curtis Blades and Junior Dos Santos.
So we'll be doing coverage for that, for sure.
We will not be doing coverage of that.
Why not?
Come on.
It's on my list.
Why is it on your list?
Because I like Junior Dos Santos.
Okay, I'm going to assume you have only looked at the main event of that card.
Uh-huh. You know, are you really fighting me on this? I have it. It's red on my calendar. I plan to do coverage for this. You're covering it. You have to cover it for 411. So
Okay,
I want to do commentary for it because it's heavyweights.
Okay, then allow me to just propose that we only cover the main event.
Okay, I can live with that.
Because I say for a very specific reason. This card is on ESPN Plus. It is only cut in half, and I do not think I could muster the life energy to talk about the 6-fight main card.
Ugh.
You want to talk about Jamala Hill and Darko Stasic? How about Hannah Cifers and Angela Hill?
Ugh.
Maybe Jordan Espinoza and Alex Perez? How about Arnold Allen and TBD, because he was supposed to fight Josh Emmett?
You know, Danny Garcia is fighting Ivan Redkach on that same night.
Have I just put you off of this card entirely?
I may change my mind here.
Look, the top 2 fights are good. You have in your co-main event Rafael dos Anjos and Michael Chiesa at welterweight. That's a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
They're both good fighters. And the main event is crappy heavyweight. I mean, I shouldn't say that about Junior, because Junior's awesome. But it's kind of a crappy heavyweight fight.
Well, we'll figure something out here.
If you want to do that card, and I say this for my sanity and for yours, that whole card is not going to be good. If you want to do that, you should probably limit it to the main event, just for the sake of not having to sit through a 6-fight main card for 4 hours talking about those fights.
Okay, you have convinced me that I should either do something else or only talk about the main event, which could go anywhere from 25 minutes to 1 minute.
And I only say that. I'm not saying that because I don't like talking to you or anything like that.
No,
I'm saying that in the interest of go in with your eyes open here.
Speaking of which, we'll also be doing a review for WWE Worlds Collide and the Royal Rumble after those 2 show airs the week of the 27th. We'll have another chapter in our long, strange trip through the history of heavyweight boxing, theoretically on the 31st.
You're getting into it. Your next one's going to be really interesting because you've got it. I know you're going to focus on Rocky Marciano, which fair enough. But you're talking about the title reigns of Ezzard Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott as well in that same time frame. And those 2 are very interesting characters in their own right.
Well, they got a brief mention on the Joe Louis shows, but yes, we will be.
Well, those are the 2. Those would be the next 2 champions after Joe Louis.
Right.
Well, especially if you're talking lineal, because Lewis loses the heavyweight title, or Lewis retires with the belt, essentially. And then Ezzard Charles winds up becoming champion and then beating him, I think, a little after the fact.
And then on February 1st...
Also, for anyone loosely interested in those shows that Mark's been doing with Pat, they're very good. And you should definitely be giving them a listen. I've been enjoying them quite thoroughly.
Well, you know, you're a hard man to please, as everyone knows. So I'm glad you've been enjoying them. They've certainly. I'm less sticky on those shows. That's for certain. I've been taking them very seriously.
How am I hard to please? There's certain things that I just have high standards for, not everything. I listen to a lot of podcasts that are not all that good.
But that being said, and then February 1st, over in China, there's Victor Postel versus Jose Ramirez, which hopefully we'll begin doing some coverage for on ESPN+. So we've got that. I'm not going to go through the whole list. We've also got a review coming up of NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. So that's all the sports-related stuff we've got in the near future.
Walter.
Planned out. We do have our earlier chapters of our trip through heavyweight boxing. We've got Jack Johnson and the first lineal champions. We've got Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis already in the archives on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We've got shows for Fight Club 2, our Fuller House Season 5, an on-trial for the Fight Club movie, Doomsday Clock, the Watchmen HBO series, our year-end special, and our look at 80s Kiss, which combined into one show. So you can check all of those out in the archives. Robert, you'll be covering UFC 246 McGregor versus Cowboy and Blades versus Dos Santos. What else you got going on?
The 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast will make its first appearance of 2020 this Sunday, so depending on when you're listening to this, tomorrow kind of deal. We will be previewing UFC 246, which is a card. I mean, look, the main event, the return of Conor McGregor against Donald Cerrone, sure. Main pay-per-view quality fight. No dispute, no discussion. The rest of that card this is a fight night card. Decent fight night card.
I got it finally. Vladimir Shishkin versus Ulysses Sierra on Showtime. Woohoo!
Okay. So, UFC 246, main event, McGregor and Cerrone. Co-main event, Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington. Not a compelling fight. Alexia Oleinik and Maurice Green, bleh, heavyweights. Claudia Gadelha and Alexa Grasso, relevant fight, but again, that's pretty good. Anthony Pettis and Carlos Diego Ferreira, surprisingly good fight. The rest of the card, Roxanne Modafferi and Macy Barbers, whatever. The UFC wants to push Barber. Andre Fili and Sadiq Youssef, good fight. Drew Dober and Nasrat Haqparast, meh, unless Haqparast scores another really impressive win. Chaz Skelly and Grant Dawson, meh. Alexa Kamer and Justin Ledette, iffy. Tim Elliott and Askar Askarov, because the UFC hates flyweights, are kicking off on the early prelims. Did I tell you something I discovered depressing about the UFC in 2019? There were a grand total of 5 men's flyweight fights on main cards in all of 2019.
Well, I thought they were doing away with this division.
Yeah, that's kind of what hang on. 2 of them were, one of them was a title fight. When TJ Dillashaw tried to go down and beat Cejudo for the belt. 2 of the others featured Joseph Benavidez. And that's it. There's zero interest in the UFC in building this division. They stripped Cejudo of the flyweight belt. Joseph Benavidez is going to fight Deiveson Figueiredo.
Well, that doesn't sound like they're doing away with the division then.
They will soon enough. Okay, look, Joseph Benavidez is finally going to get a title that only took the UFC actively getting rid of Demetrius Johnson, and then Henry Cejudo vacating it, and a guy with a favorable stylistic matchup.
Is the women's featherweight division gone now that Cyborg is?
It's not a division. It was never a division.
Well, what's-her-face has got the belt.
Yes, Amanda Nunes is the champion. I don't think they have 5 female featherweights on roster.
Maybe they can pay Grandma to
get smashed by Amanda Nunes?
Sure.
I mean, sure, I'm down to watch it, but...
Come on, Grandma versus Nunes? I'd pay for that. In Brazil? Let her knock her weave off.
She would, too. Nunes would murder that poor woman. Oh, she'd eat 3 punches, get taken down, and then smashed with elbows until your face is an unrecognizable mess. Anyway,
and then she'd take her weave back to Brazil.
That would be her scalp. So just take it with her and mount, and it'll be in a glass display case on her.
Okay, how about this? How about they sign Grandma? She fights him. This poor woman, I don't know what her name is, and I'm not bothering to look. So she fights Grandma, right? And then Amanda Nunes beats the living shit out of her. And then she takes her weave, and then she joins the Dark Collective.
Oh, God. Why would you bring up that stupid thing?
In talking to somebody on Twitter earlier, I mashed up that and the Dark Order because I couldn't remember their names individually.
cares? They're both rip-offs of a crappy TNA gimmick from a few years ago. That was like the Death City Council, or wasn't there a tag team that was the Dark City Fight Club that had a run in ROH like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I know the answer to that. You know, for those of you who...
We've got too far off the rails.
I was going to say, for those of you who came here for strictly boxing, we are sorry.
It's late, and the fights have been amusing. Point being, for those of you who are interested in MMA, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. Please give us a listen. If you like what you hear, please like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy if you think that that's something that will give them misery. I don't care who listens. So tune in for that. We'll preview 246. We'll talk about all the news that's broken since the new year has come about, which has been relatively quiet, but there's some stuff we'll talk about.
Dana White apparently wanted to sign Grandma's niece, who stopped a burglary from happening at a Best Buy.
You know, there was a thing on Twitter, and it was somebody ranking like the worst fan bases in MMA. Not total fandoms, but if you get down to the hardcore fans of this fighter, they're the worst. This person's opinion started with Khabib, second Conor, and it went downhill from there. And the correct response to all of this was the worst kind of fans in MMA are the Dana White stan fans. They're the worst.
Okay, so I listened to a podcast of guys that are probably 10 years my junior, and they use the word stan a lot. Is this a thing people are doing? I'm old and I don't know what's happening in the world. All I know is some wrestler's daughter once yelled at a lady, and now she's in trouble and she's fighting men, and the world has gotten to a place that I don't understand. What is standing? Why can't we just be obsessed with people? Why does it got to be standing? Isn't that an Eminem song? Where are my pants?
I'm not going to lie. I know what it means only in context. I've never seen an actual definition.
Okay.
Or actually used it spoken aloud in a sentence or written, to the best of my knowledge, prior to quoting that tweet right now.
Okay, I believe it comes from an Eminem song.
Again, knowing what it is in context, it's just people irrationally defending something.
Got it.
So, I don't know where it comes from. I imagine it started with a typo. I stand with so-and-so, but they forgot the D. And it just has blossomed into a full-blown meme at this point because our dumb society. Point being, Dana White's the worst.
Yes, he is. All right.
So, for all your MMA-related needs, feel free to check that out. I posted my 2019 MMA Year-End Awards column in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com, so feel free to check that out if you're so inclined.
Oh, hey, and Robert's going to be doing 2 Damn You Hollywoods with Andrew Graham. I won't be able to make those because of some personal / health issues I've got going on, and just timing has not worked out. But he'll be reviewing in full 1917, which is fucking amazing, by the way, and I'm sad I'm not going to get a chance to talk about it.
Can I just say, if it's not horror movies you find a way to get out of talking about with me, it's good movies. Why can't you have a health scare for Bad Boys for Life? I'm just saying. No. Michael Bay's Drek. I will podcast from my deathbed, sir. 1917. I got a thing, maybe. I just have to point it out, and it's sad because I'm sad I'm not going to be talking about it with you either, because so often we have to talk about crap that when we talk about something good, it's nice.
Yeah, I saw it Friday night. I loved it, and it was a jarring and just a portrait of heroism rarely seen in the cinema these days. Not counting hero movies, quote unquote.
Even hero movies aren't this heroic. Is because these are real people kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, hey, Captain Marvel, there's nothing in God